Chapter 52-62. 1 second to remember, Yi Xiangnan's voice became colder. If you want to make trouble, get out. He raised his eyes and signaled Secretary Li at the door. Very quickly, 4 security guards stepped forward and pinned Su Jian down. Then, they stuffed her into the elevator and threw her into the ring that place. Yi Xiangnan didn't let anyone look after her because it wasn't necessary. She couldn't blame anyone for seeking death. As he thought, Su Jian had always been capricious. A dog couldn't stop eating that kind of thing. After staying for a day, she cried for her parents and ran away when the nurse wasn't paying attention. Su Jian had nowhere to go. Naturally, she went to Mr. Mi. She didn't do her job well and even seduced Yi Xiangnan. Mr. Mi didn't let her go. Besides, she had no value to be used anymore. Su Jian's ending was quite tragic. Mr. Mi didn't dare to touch Su Mu or Cymbidium chinense. However, Su Jian had no one to protect her. She became a punching bag. He didn't want her to die, but his wife didn't like her and took her away. When she was sent back, she was no longer alive. In Mr. Mi's place, it was nothing to lose a person. He just needed to find someone to deal with it. Su Mu got the news a few days later. It was Sister Hong who told her. This little girl is so ugly. No one cares about her, Sister Hong said while smoking. It's Qing Zhang's fault. Su Mu shook her head. Yi Xiangnan sent her to the office before. She ran away. She didn't want the last chance. To be honest, it wasn't that she was cold-blooded. She really couldn't describe her feelings for Su Jian. She courted death herself, and no one could do anything about it. However, she didn't expect her mother to run away just like that. She didn't want Su Jian. What's your next plan? Sister Hong asked softly. The house. Just leave it. It's not a good place for others to live in. Su Mu whispered, Sister Hong, Jian was a beautiful little girl when she was young. If my mother didn't spoil her so much, she wouldn't be like this. For the sake of her own vanity, she had no bottom line at all. Naive, childish, and pitiful. Sister Hong patted her on the shoulder and said, Don't think too much about it. She chose this path herself. Qing Zhang pointed it out to her last time and told her that she could only quit. After Sister Hong went back, she fell out with Master Qing again. The moment she went back, she took out a bag and hit him. The button of the bag slipped on his face, causing him to bleed. Godfather Qing was furious. What's wrong with you again? You don't want to live your good life anymore, do you? The two of them had fiery tempers. They were especially good when they were in a good mood, but they were also fierce when they quarreled. As soon as they quarreled, this woman wanted to hit him. Master Qing obediently took the beating, not daring to retaliate. He only dared to curse a few times, and then this woman hit him again. She was extremely fierce. Master Qing felt wronged. Sometimes, he would hide for 2 days and live like a grandson. However, the sweetness of love. In less than 2 days, when he missed his woman, she would thicken her skin and come back. She would act coquettishly to please him, and they would reconcile. At this moment, when Sister Hong hit him, he was also a little angry. How did I offend you again? I've already forgotten about Su Jian's matter. If you want to look for someone, go look for me. You dare to hit him like this? Aren't you just relying on me letting you have your way? Sister Hong hit him a few more times. She was not satisfied and scolded while panting, It's all because of you bunch of scum. How many women have you harmed? When Godfather Qing saw that this was over, he hugged her from behind and rested his chin on her shoulder. I'm a scum. Why did you fall for a scum? Sister Hong glanced at him. Yeah, I'm blind. Chapter 52-63. Updated quickly, Master Ching said shamelessly, I think you have good taste, very good. He was like a big dog, acting cute and acting like a spoiled child. Who could stand this? Sister Hong really couldn't do anything about him. She snorted and glanced at him. Ching Ching, don't you have any shame? You're a man with so many brothers. What are you doing here all day? Following me to work and out, I find it embarrassing. Especially when she went to socialize, Master Ching was like a loyal dog squatting at the door of the private room. Not to mention taking advantage of her, those advertising fathers didn't even dare to give her a sip of alcohol. Who dared to force Master Chang's woman to drink? If they really did that, they probably wouldn't be able to get out of this room. Sister Hong shook her head gently. Thinking about that man's shameless behavior, she turned her head. Let's not talk about this anymore. You have to do it well. It's not for your peace of mind. Just treat it as it's for Su Mu. Only Master Ching was the most suitable person to do this. Su Jian really deserved it. Not only did she have bad morals, but she also wanted to harm others. Even her own mother didn't want her in the end. Seeing that this matter was over, Master Ching was overjoyed. All right, wife, I promise I'll do it well. Sister Hong glanced at him and didn't refuse anything else. At night, she turned her head and asked softly, I heard from Su Mu that Su Shaoqing was sent to military academy and Uncle Su was also sent to a safe place. Ching Ching, I think Yi Xiangnan is going to deal with me. Master Ching was a little tired. Hearing Sister Hong's words, he turned over and said, Isn't it good? We can sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Sister Hong slapped his arm. Watch my ass. Su Mu is not only my good sister, but also your benefactor. She fed you like a dog for several years. How can you forget her just because you say so? Master Ching was a little angry after being hit by her. He suddenly sat up and said, Well, you woman, tell me what you want to do. Let me rush in front. If something happens to me, you won't have a man. Sister Hong knew that he was angry, and he was also angry. His business was ruined, and now the money was in her hands. Of course, it was uncomfortable to be controlled everywhere. Sister Hong's voice softened a little. How could I bear to let you charge at the front? It would be good for you to help out from the side. For example, let a few brothers protect Su Mu. Also, make it clear where you stand. Master Ching muttered softly, I won't do it. I'll be laughed at by my brothers in the underworld. Great reporter Lu, have you heard of the story of the official and the bandit families? Sister Hong looked at him. Then why did you eat his food back then? Master Ching straightened his neck. How would I know that she was going to marry Yi Xiangnan? Otherwise, I wouldn't eat anymore. I'd rather starve to death so that I wouldn't be put in a spot by a woman like you today. What's wrong with me? There are so many women out there waiting for me, go. Sister Hong went down and turned on the lights. Ching Zheng, if you don't go today, you're not a man. She was furious. This bastard would say that there were a bunch of women waiting for him every time they quarreled. Since that was the case, what was he still doing here? She felt that she was already very considerate of him. She, Lu Hong, could not be like those women who fawned on him without any bottom line, right? If that was the case, she would look down on herself. Sister Hong bit her lower lip and gently turned her face away, unwilling to look at him. Chapter 52-64. Master Ching was so angry that he wanted to leave with his clothes. However, she stood at the side and didn't make a sound, but her eyes were red. After a while, tears fell from the corner of her eyes. Master Ching was stunned. Master Ching panicked. After a long time, he said embarrassedly, "Why are you crying when we were talking?" I didn't bully you. Sister Hong lowered her eyes and chuckled. Let's go. I won't keep you here, and I won't keep you in the future. Go find your sweet girl. I can't afford to serve you. Master Ching immediately stepped forward and clumsily helped her wipe her tears. However, he didn't know that women couldn't be spoiled. The more she wiped, the more tears flowed. Master Ching grinned. It's said that women are made of water. It's true. Come on, I'll wipe it for you. Don't cry, Sister Hong turned her head. Don't give me that. I won't fall for it. Master Ching said coquettishly, what do you mean by I'm not? You're my darling sweetheart now. You're my baby. Sister Hong was really annoyed. She frowned. Are you crazy? Master Ching saw that she wasn't crying anymore. She still had a fierce look on her face, which was surprisingly good-looking. Suddenly, he said, didn't you say that you wanted me to help you? Sure, beg me. As he said that, he stepped forward and made a move. Sister Hong scolded, Ching Ching, you bastard, let go of me. You're so shameless. Get lost. Didn't you want to find your women? Go. Ching Ching, Master Cheng's heart was full of tenderness. The woman who was hugging him said in a low voice, I won't find them anymore. I won't find them anymore. I'll only stay here with you. Alright, you're a few years older than me. You really think of yourself as a baby. I can't say it out loud. As he spoke, he was really gentle. Although Master Ching was a little rough and uncultured, he would sometimes say some coquettish words. He was good-looking and manly. To be honest, if he really put down his status to coax a woman, it would be quite lethal. At least, Sister Hong liked it. Sister Hong struggled for a while and continued to curse in a low voice, but it did not hinder him. The next day, Master Ching, refreshed, called Xiao Mao over and straightforwardly told him to do a few things. He also said, if you do it well, your Hong Jia will reward you, a big reward. After saying this, Master Ching was a little short of breath. In the past, he could have just waved his hand and the money would have been gone. But now, he was really miserable. He did not have much money in his hands. Not only was he short of breath, but he also had to look at other people's faces. Xiao Mao, on the other hand, was used to Sister Hong being in charge, so he happily agreed. Sister Hong, who was in the bedroom, heard their conversation and walked out. She told Xiao Mao repeatedly that after this matter was over, the brothers would all benefit. Sister Hong's words naturally meant what she said. Moreover, with Sister Hong around, Master Cheng's temper was much better. Sister Hong's heart ached for them, so she didn't let Master Ching beat them up. The brothers were sincerely convinced by her. After Sister Hong was done with her instructions, she went to wash up and get ready. After she went to the washroom, Xiao Mao looked at Master Ching. There were a few obvious scratch marks on Master Cheng's neck. With one look, he knew that he had gotten into a fight again. He quite sympathized with Master Ching. In the past, Master Ching was so ruthless when he hit Sister Hong. He would not show any mercy at all. Now, he was still merciless, but it was Sister Hong who was merciless. Every day, Master Ching went to see his brothers with such injuries. He had no eyes to look at, but Master Ching did not care. He said it was to let the tigress at home. Chapter 52-65. When Sister Hong came out, Master Ching had already left with Xiao Mao. Sister Hong changed her clothes, went downstairs, sat in the car, put on her sunglasses, and slowly drove away. She knew that B City was going to be tense, so she didn't walk around casually. Other than going to and from work, she didn't go out to socialize. After work, she went straight home. She also knew that her man had sent people to protect her. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't touched at all. But Sister Hong was also a bit stubborn, so she didn't ask. The situation was getting more and more tense, mainly between Yi Xiangnan and Mr. Mi. Of course, it wasn't open. After all, on the surface, Yi Xiangnan was the CEO of Stars Entertainment, just a businessman. However, he represented the Wen clan. Mr. Mi couldn't be offended. After a round of looting, Mr. Mi's vitality was greatly damaged. His business couldn't be done, and he also ran away to Xiangxiang, but he didn't take his wife with him. When everything was settled, B City returned to peace. Master Cheng was happy to find that his club's business was good. Originally, Mr. Mi's plate had fallen, but he suddenly got a bargain. Master Cheng was very happy, so he specially went to pick up Sister Hong from work. Sister Hong was discussing something with Zhang Fucai. When Master Cheng came over, his face suddenly darkened, and he looked a little unnatural. Sister Hong was very speechless. He was such a big man, but his face always darkened, and he was easily jealous. She said to Zhang Fucai, "Let's stop here. We'll talk about it tomorrow." Zhang Fucai also didn't want to stand there and be a third wheel. He was also quite afraid of Master Cheng, because Master Cheng's fist was really hard. When Editor-in-Chief Zhang left, he was a little embarrassed, and his speed was very fast. Master Cheng was very satisfied watching it, and he closed the door. "He's so afraid of me." Sister Hong said mockingly, "Yes, Master Cheng, you're very cool." Master Cheng smiled, revealing a mouth of snow-white teeth. It was quite good-looking, and quite manly. Sister Hong stared at him for a while, and then packed up her things. "Look at you, it seems that you have activities tonight. I want to exercise, do you want to accompany me?" Master Cheng smiled wickedly. Sister Hong brought a notebook. "I have to work overtime tonight, let's go eat hot pot first." Master Cheng readily agreed and brought her downstairs. He asked the chauffeur to drive his car away while he sat in Sister Hong's car. He sat beside her with a flattering smile. "This car is not bad, right? Over 10 million yuan, this woman was living like a noble lady." Sister Hong tilted her head and said, "It's pretty good. The driving experience is great." Master Cheng's eyes widened. "Lu Hong, are you driving?" "I'm driving." She smiled in a flirtatious manner. Master Cheng was even more speechless as he stared at her. After a while, he said, "Women should be more gentle. Would you marry a gentler one?" Sister Hong asked casually. Master Cheng was a little surprised and turned to look at her. Sister Hong smiled. "I was just joking." He drove with one hand and lit a cigarette with the other. After taking a puff, he coughed lightly. He coughed so hard that a layer of mist appeared in his eyes. "This smoke is choking," she thought. Master Cheng snatched the cigarette from her hand and snuffed it out. "Why do women smoke? Their teeth are going to turn yellow." Sister Hong drove quietly. There was a traffic jam in front of her, so she stopped the car. She tilted her head and looked at Master Cheng. "I'm not going to get married, it doesn't matter." Master Cheng felt something was wrong when he heard her words. He touched his head and said, "You really want to get married? You're already in your 30s, who do you want to marry? Why don't you hang around with me, wear good clothes, eat good food, live in the best house and drive the best car? How great would that be?" Sister Hong smiled. "Then I still don't have a home." Master Cheng was a little confused. What did this woman mean? She wanted to marry him. Master Cheng cautiously said, "Lu Hong, we're all old men and women, not young girls. It feels good to be together. After a man and a woman get married, it's not like this, don't you think?" Lu Hong was still quiet. I'm not going to marry you. Master Ching asked even more carefully, then who are you going to marry? Chapter 52-66. Sister Hong smiled. Let's wait and see. We'll get married if we meet someone suitable. What's wrong? Are you not planning to get married for the rest of your life, Qingjing? I thought you really wanted a child. Master Ching scratched his head. I didn't think about it much. But if we get married, we have to have a child. Otherwise, why would we get married? Sister Hong tightened her grip on the steering wheel and smiled nonchalantly. That's right, why would we get married if we don't have a child? Qingjing wasn't a liar. She was straightforward and said whatever she had in mind. However, her heart was still a little empty. She didn't know how long they could maintain such a relationship. If a man and a woman were just doing it for fun, it would probably last a year or two. The man would leave without any reluctance, but the woman was different. Perhaps she had taken it too seriously. Qingjing didn't take it seriously. He had never thought about getting married at all. He just felt that they could be together for as long as they were happy. She knew that he wasn't sincere at all. Perhaps she wanted too much. Now, she was like those women around Qingjing. She started to have demands, and her demands were more than those women. Those women wanted Qingjing's money and body, but she still wanted marriage and his loyalty. She hated herself for being like this. Sister Hong felt that it was rather boring. She didn't have the face to make things clear and she wasn't willing to lower her stance. The car arrived at the hot pot restaurant. The meal wasn't enjoyable either. Master Cheng's heart felt like it was being scratched by ants. He knew what she was thinking and coughed lightly. We are getting along quite well now. It's not like we are lacking a certificate. I'm not forcing you to get married, don't worry. Sister Hong was a little angry and lowered her voice. Also, if you get tired of it and want to find a younger one, I will give you all the money you left with me. Master Cheng's eyes turned red as he stared at her. I was just casually saying a few words. Why are you so serious? Did I say that I want the money? It's yours if I give it to you. I'm not your wife. Why would I want the money? Sister Hong's tone wasn't too good. She stood up. She didn't know what was wrong with herself. She just felt a little wronged. He treated her extremely well, but this bastard had never thought of marrying her, not even once. He even said that marriage was for the sake of having children. But she had almost no chance of being a mother. After that miscarriage, the doctor said she might not get pregnant again. Qingjing knew it. Sister Hong got into the car and ignored him. She slammed the door and drove away. Master Ching followed the car for a few steps before cursing, fuck. This woman really doesn't put me in her eyes. Isn't it just a piece of paper? He couldn't bring himself to say the word give. For a man like him who lived on the edge of a knife, there was no such thing as true love. Wasn't it just a matter of being with a woman? The only thing was that Su Shu had moved his heart to marry her. She was also his benefactor. That kind of pure feeling was different from Lu Hong. When he saw Lu Hong, he thought of the sun. Master Ching didn't even have enough to eat. He was so angry that he called Xiao Mao to pick him up. Xiao Mao arrived very quickly. When he saw Master Ching in the wind, he was so scared that he gulped. Master Ching, what's wrong with you? Who dares to leave you here? Master Ching got into the car and snorted coldly. Other than your sister-in-law, who else could it be? I don't know why she's messing with me today. It's obvious that she wants to get married. How can she not think about marriage? It's not like it's a game. You can't live without a certificate. You can just sell the shares and leave. How cool is that? Why do you have to get a certificate? How many people in the underworld want to get married? Hearing this, Xiao Mao was scared witless. He stammered, but Master Ching, all women want to get married. Master Ching asked, is Lu Hong a woman? Xiao Mao didn't say anything. If she wasn't a woman, would Master Ching like her so much that he would go every night? Master Ching paused for a moment before saying, it's just a certificate. Why bother? Who doesn't call her sister-in-law now? Sister-in-law isn't a person in the underworld. Xiao Mao said the main point. Master Ching, you can't use the rules of the underworld to measure sister-in-law. Women always want a family. That way, they can feel safe. Xiao Mao's book was not for nothing. Master Ching didn't say anything and fell into deep thought. When the car arrived at Sister Hong's house, Xiao Mao said softly, Master Ching, don't quarrel when you go back. Just coax her a little. Sister-in-law. I think she loves you. Master Ching looked at Xiao Mao and said after a while, I was just fooling around with her. Did she really do it? If Xiao Mao was a woman, he would also want to slap Master Ching to death. This was too disrespectful to women. Xiao Mao coughed lightly. Master Ching, don't you like sister-in-law very much? Master Ching said in a rough voice, how do I know if I can always like her? If I don't like her in the future, can I divorce her? She's like a sticky candy that I can't get rid of. Xiao Mao felt that something was wrong halfway through. He slowly turned his head and saw Sister Hong outside the car. The car window was open. Master Cheng's voice was really loud. Xiao Mao was scared to death. He stammered, sister-in-law, Master Ching was just joking. When Master Ching heard that, he immediately turned his head and looked at Sister Hong's face. Sister Hong wasn't angry. She just smiled. It's quite good. It's quite real. Are you afraid that you can't get rid of me? Then I'll get rid of you right now. She was furious. Originally, she thought that it was her fault just now and wanted to pick him up. She didn't expect to hear his conversation with Xiao Mao the moment she arrived. So this was what he was thinking. Not only did he not think about getting married, but he was also thinking about what if she stuck to him and couldn't get rid of him. It was really quite good. Sister Hong lowered her eyes and laughed at herself. Her voice was slightly hoarse. Ching Jing, I won't force you to get married. She didn't know what she wanted to say after that. She wanted to fall out with him, but when she saw his expression like a child who had done something wrong, she couldn't say it. In the end, she stood in the wind. She was very cold, but her heart was even colder. She didn't know what to say, nor did she know what she was thinking. In short, she felt very wronged. She did seem to take it seriously, but he didn't. Sister Hong really didn't say that they wanted to break up. Master Ching got out of the car and hugged her. Perhaps to make it up to her, he was especially gentle tonight. However, Sister Hong didn't pay much attention to him. Master Ching coaxed her, but as he coaxed her, he realized that he wasn't prepared to be with her forever. It seemed like it wasn't a good thing to spoil her too much. As the days passed, their relationship became more distant. Master Ching used to stick to her every day and spend the night here every night. He really didn't have any other women. After that, he came every other day and treated her quite well, just like before. Chapter 52-67. After that, he came every other day and treated her just as well as before. When he didn't come, he would sleep in the clubhouse. Sometimes, he would listen to the young lady sing, and when he was in the mood, he would hug the young lady and tease her. At that time, he also thought about Sister Hong and felt a little guilty. There were many women who had fallen in love with him before, but he never took them seriously. He trampled on their sincerity and fed them to the dogs. However, he knew that Sister Hong had cried the entire night. He was a little helpless. They had agreed to stay together if they worked together, and separate if they didn't. He didn't say anything about marriage, so he didn't do anything wrong. Sister Hong had heard about him having a woman, but she didn't ask about it. It wasn't like her to be so quiet. Master Ching waited for her to get angry, and even waited for her to kick him out. He waited for a long time, but she didn't take the initiative to mention it. So, he felt that this relationship should end. He quite liked her, and there was no woman he was as infatuated with as Lu Hong. But he was Master Ching. He worked from 9 to 5 every day, and being with her every day was his limit. If he had never thought about being tied to her for the rest of his life, he might as well let her go early. She wanted to get married, and now that she had money, she should find a decent man to marry. After Master Ching spent the last night here, he got up to smoke and said faintly, "Lu Hong, find a man to marry. Find a good man, a cultured man, someone you can talk to, someone who can protect his body, unlike a bastard like me. Actually, I don't deserve your love." Sister Hong listened quietly. She wanted to smoke a cigarette, but then she put it down. She wrapped herself in the blanket and said softly, "Qingzheng, I haven't smoked for a long time. It's hard to quit, but I think I can." Master Ching turned around and smiled, revealing a set of beautiful white teeth. His whole body was full of manliness. But she knew that he wasn't alone now. After tonight, he would be leaving. He wanted her to find a man to marry. His meaning couldn't be clearer. Sister Hong went to take a shower. When she came back, there was a folder in her hands. "This is the money you gave me, as well as the property. Take it. I don't need it. What I have now. It's not difficult to find a decent man. Besides, I don't have any use for this money." Master Ching didn't want it, but Sister Hong insisted. After that, she stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in the bedroom and looked at the night view outside. Faintly, she said, "Qingzheng, go." Master Ching came over and wanted to hug her again. Sister Hong stepped aside and slapped him across the face. Then, her eyes reddened. "Qingzheng, you're the worst man I've ever met. Get lost, as far as you can. Don't come back here again." Master Ching was a little confused, but he wasn't angry at her anymore. In the past, he would quarrel with her every 2 to 3 days, but now he didn't seem to want to quarrel with her anymore. It was as if he was tired of living and didn't feel fresh anymore. He felt that it was about time. And so, his decision was right. She would get a decent man while he, Qingzheng, could only live the life he had in the past. That was pretty good. They didn't have to care about each other. He didn't want to admit that he was afraid of marriage. He was afraid of being tied down. He didn't want to be tied down by a woman until he died. The outside world was so interesting and exciting. He had long said that the reason he was looking for a woman was for that kind of thing. But if she had to talk about love, that wouldn't do. How could he, Qingzheng, know anything about love? Chapter 52-68. Read it for free. Master Ching felt that their relationship had come to an end. He really didn't want to get married. If they broke up, then so be it. It would be good for her too. She still longed for a family. He couldn't give it to her. She still longed for a family. He couldn't give it to her. Master Cheng was a generous man. He didn't want what he gave her. But the moment he stepped out of her door, the bag was thrown out. "I don't want your things. You should be more clear in the future." He bent down to pick it up. He wanted to talk to her, but the door had already been closed. Master Ching furrowed his brows. This woman's temper is getting worse. He picked up the bag and wanted to knock on the door. But then he remembered that they had clearly said that they had broken up. Master Ching had some thoughts in his mind. He stood there silently for a while before leaving. Sister Hong was alone at home. She smashed everything into pieces and got herself drunk. Wasn't it just because they couldn't have children? She clearly knew that if she could give birth, Qingsheng wouldn't have such thoughts. Because she couldn't give birth, she wouldn't have a child, and she wouldn't need to get married. She didn't really want to get married, but she really didn't think about it. She never thought about being together forever. Lu Hong, you're actually no different from those women. You're vain and especially like his money. She leaned on the bar counter and slowly fell asleep. When she woke up, it was already early in the morning. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, there was a layer of fog in B City. Sister Hong just lay there and looked at it silently. Then, she started to cry. Wasn't it just a man? If there was no one else, she could just find another one. For a long time, Sister Hong was alone. She went to work and got off work. Her temper wasn't good. Everyone in the news agency knew that she had broken up with Master Ching. If it was in the past, Du Meili would have laughed at her. But now, it was different. She scolded Master Ching behind his back. That country bumpkin was lucky enough to have a woman like Sister Hong to love him. He was so picky and didn't know how to cherish her. They were both women. Du Meili guessed that they had broken up because of marriage. It was true. A woman who followed you for a long time was nothing. Du Meili wanted to accompany Sister Hong for a drink and have some fun with a little wolf dog. Sister Hong thought about it and agreed. However, she wasn't interested in drinking anymore. When she woke up early that morning, it felt like a dream. It was especially bad. The two of them went to the clubhouse. It didn't matter if it was Master Chang's or not. They had already broken up. Fortunately, Master Ching was here. Xiao Mao ran over and told Master Ching, "Sister-in-law is there drinking with that reporter Du." Master Ching, who was happily hugging the two girls, impatiently said, "Which sister-in-law? Do I have a wife?" He asked the two young ladies beside him, and the two young ladies giggled, making Master Ching very happy. Xiao Mao hesitated for a long time before he finally said, "All right, as long as Master Ching doesn't mind." Master Ching snorted. "Do I look like the kind of man who can't let go? After we break up, whether she finds a puppy or a good man to marry has nothing to do with me anymore." Xiao Mao looked at Master Ching with some resentment in his eyes. Master Ching was really heartless. He didn't even cherish a good woman like sister-in-law. Little Mao went out, but he didn't dare to go over and greet him. He only dared to watch from afar for a while. Du Meili smoked and said softly, "It's Master Chang's henchman." Sister Hong held on to her glass. "It's Xiao Mao, right? Don't worry about him." Du Meili didn't refuse cigarettes or alcohol. Seeing her like this, Sister Hong stopped her. "Come on, I heard that you have a boyfriend. If you get pregnant, it won't be good for the child." Chapter 52-69. Du Meili and Sister Hong also spoke from the bottom of their hearts. It's not that easy to have a child. Both of us are under a lot of financial pressure after just buying a house. Let's wait for another 2 years. In another 2 years, we have to take care of it now. Sister Hong smiled. Du Meili froze for a moment and then lowered her head. "Sister Hong, I'm so sorry. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have broken up with Master Ching. That's not the problem." Sister Hong smiled faintly. "If he really likes me, he wouldn't care if I can have a child or not. He could even adopt one. In his heart, I'm no different from anyone else. Once the novelty is over, he'll just throw me away. Last time, he slept with someone else. This time, before they could even separate, he was already out drinking and having no intention of hiding it. His intention was very clear. He was waiting for her to say that they were going to break up. This was good too. At least she wouldn't be cheated by a man for the rest of her life. Sister Hong smiled lightly. You see, I'm not young anymore. Maybe it's time to find a man to marry. It's fine if he has a child, but it's not bad if he doesn't. Dumeli, I really want to be a mother now. Really, but it's time. Dumeli never thought that she would be able to talk to Sister Hong like this. She raised her glass. Then I wish you all the best. Find a good man and forget about that bastard Qingjing. Sister Hong smiled. Do you know what he said? He said that we don't need to care about a piece of paper. Dumeli helped her scold again. After that, she thought of someone. Next time, call Su Mu. The three of us can eat together. I have to apologize to Su Mu for being too arrogant in the past. It's not good. You don't have to do it on purpose. Let's get together when we're free. Sister Hong didn't care and looked at the time. It's almost 10. I'll send you back. You can't drive after drinking. Dumeli actually drank 2 glasses. I'm fine. I'll take a taxi back. You go first. I'll leave after I finish this glass. Sister Hong nodded. Then be careful. After speaking, she took her coat and walked out. Because of her slender figure, long hair, and exquisite makeup, many men stared at Sister Hong. If it was in the past, Sister Hong wouldn't mind having a one-night stand. However, after the incident with Master Qing, she was quite against it. He walked out of the clubhouse, got into his car, fastened his seatbelt, and looked ahead. It was Qingjing. He was hugging 2 young ladies as they got into the car. Perhaps he was coaxed by the young ladies. He looked very happy. Sister Hong lowered her eyes and started the car. Her car slowly drove away as Master Qing sat in the car in a daze. The young lady beside him called out to Master Qing a few times before he lightly said, "Get off the car. I'm not in the mood today." These 2 beautiful sisters were newcomers. They were very young and were only in their 20s. Master Qing was also very happy for a few days. However, after seeing Lu Hong just now, he suddenly lost interest in the 2 beautiful sisters beside him. The 2 beautiful sisters still wanted to act coquettishly, but Master Chang's face darkened. Get out of the car. The 2 young girls felt wronged and didn't dare to pester him anymore. They got out of the car obediently. Qingjing held a cigarette in his mouth and said to the driver, "You get out too. I'll drive myself." The driver was a little frightened. "Master Qing, you drank." "I'm very sober. I know what I'm doing." Master Qing was a little angry. The driver didn't dare to disobey and got out of the car. Chapter 5270. Master Qing sat in the car and smoked a cigarette, but he still drove to Sister Hong's building. When the car stopped, he saw that Sister Hong's sports car had already driven back, and he watched silently for a while. Just as he was about to leave, he saw Sister Hong get out of the car with a tissue in her hand, as if she was pressing her nose. Under the light, he could clearly see that her eyes were a little red. Did she cry? Master Qing felt his heart tighten, and he couldn't tell what he was feeling. He also secretly hated himself. She had clearly let go of him, so what was there to be reluctant about? Wasn't breaking up like this. She would be sad for a few days. Besides, she was rich and beautiful now, where couldn't she find a man? Master Qing still got out of the car, and he stood holding the car door. You really can't let go. You won't cry when you see that I have another girl, right? Sister Hong stood there, wearing a red wool skirt with a simple black down jacket, and she was holding a notebook in her hand. She only glanced at him, and then she quickly prepared to enter the hall. Master Ching closed the car door, and before she opened the door, he grabbed the handle of the door and looked down at her. "Aren't you very free and easy? Why are you crying like a little girl?" Sister Hong quietly said, "Ching Ching, we have broken up. Whether I cry or find a man, it has nothing to do with you. I have already prepared to let go. If you are a man, don't look for me." Master Ching ground his white teeth. "Fine, I won't look for you. I have nothing to do." Sister Hong chuckled softly. "Yeah, just live your life well. Aren't you happy?" For some reason, when Master Ching thought of his two sisters, he felt a little guilty, and looked at Sister Hong. He coughed lightly, and pretended to be casual. "Do you care?" "A little. But it's temporary. Ching Ching, don't look for me anymore." She said in a low voice, "I want to find a man to marry, and maybe adopt a child. I don't smoke or drink anymore, and I want to have a family. If you take into account our past, don't look for me anymore, and don't ruin my life. I can't bear Master Chang's love again and again." After saying that, she gently broke away from him, opened the door, and entered. Ching Yang stood behind her and looked at her back through the door. After a long time, he found his voice and said, "You're quite promising." At this time, Xiao Mao appeared out of nowhere and said, "Master Ching, haven't you been separated from sister-in-law? Can't I just come and take a look?" Master Ching frowned. Xiao Mao sighed softly. "I don't think Sister Hong will turn back." Although Master Ching had no intention of turning back, he was still shocked by these words. He shook his head and said, "I didn't ask her to do anything. There are so many women out there, and I'm rich enough to find a woman." Xiao Mao just stared at his Master Ching, not making a sound. After Master Ching finished speaking, he rubbed his nose and said, he's gone. He doesn't even want to see me. He won't even let me drink a sip of tea." On the side, Xiao Mao said in a soft voice, "When a woman is heartbroken to the extreme, she will never come into contact with this man. Maybe one day they can have a cup of coffee together, but not now." "When was that?" Master Ching asked in a rough voice. Xiao Mao said again, "According to the book, at least 10 years, maybe 20 years. Master Ching chuckled and said, 20 years, your sister-in-law will have menopause a long time ago. Why would she drink coffee?" Xiao Mao's voice was still soft. "Master Ching, where did I get sister-in-law? Didn't we break up a long time ago?" Chapter 5271. Updated quickly. If it was in the past, Master Ching would have either hit or scolded him. But now, he was silent for a while, then said softly, "Actually, I'm the one who let her down. I'm a scumbag and playful. Actually, I could tell that she took it seriously, but I still treated her well. That's it. If I didn't show that I wanted to be with her for a long time, she probably wouldn't have taken it seriously. Or perhaps, he really did want to be with a woman for a long time, but it was just a spur of the moment. Especially when this woman asked him for marriage, he didn't want to give it to her. He felt that it was pointless. He, Ching Ching, was second to none in the underworld. After being controlled by a woman for so long, he was actually a little tired of it. Sometimes, he also missed the free and unrestrained life. So, when she said she was going to get married, he went with the flow and separated from her. That was good. She was a mature woman, so she should be fine after a few days of sadness. Master Ching went back and continued to live a luxurious life. He didn't look for Sister Hong even once. However, Xiao Mao mentioned once that Sister Hong had started going on blind dates, and the dates were all high-quality men wearing glasses. He said that Master Ching could rest assured that Sister Hong had good taste. Master Ching was quite annoyed and told Xiao Mao not to mention Sister Hong in front of him in the future. Xiao Mao didn't mention it, but Master Ching himself met Sister Hong outside. She was sitting in a cafe, dressed elegantly, and drinking coffee with a man in a woolen suit. She seemed to be doing well. She was talking and laughing with the man and would occasionally stroke his ear. Master Ching gritted his teeth through the glass. He was the one who gave her the earrings, and now she was wearing them to date another man. She really was something. Master Ching gritted his teeth. He didn't know if it was because his line of sight was too obvious, but Sister Hong turned her face and saw him. Their eyes met, and Master Ching was a little embarrassed. He immediately put on his sunglasses and got into the car. Sister Hong silently retracted her gaze. The man opposite her asked gently, "Do you know each other?" Actually, they were both adults, so they roughly knew what kind of relationship they had. Moreover, Sister Hong's eyes couldn't lie. Sister Hong gently stirred the coffee, took a sip, and said calmly, "An old friend, but he doesn't come often anymore." The man smiled warmly and did not pursue the matter. He was very cultured. Sister Hong had a good impression of him. He was a university professor and the vice dean of a certain academy. He came from a scholarly family. It was his second marriage. He had an ex-wife but no children. He didn't care whether he had children or not. This was quite in line with Sister Hong. After 3 or 4 dates, their relationship was more or less settled. After finishing their coffee, they went to watch an opera together. They also had dinner outside. When Professor Lin drove Sister Hong back, it was already 9 o'clock. "Here we are." He smiled. Sister Hong gently unbuckled her seatbelt and thought for a moment. "Do you want to go upstairs for a cup of tea?" Of course, Professor Lin would not reject a lady's invitation. It would be impolite to reject her now. He quite liked Sister Hong. She had an intellectual beauty and was very feminine at the same time. She was very flirtatious. She was the kind of woman that men wanted to have. Professor Lin smiled. Of course. He unfastened his seatbelt, leaned over, and kissed her hair. His voice was hoarse. "Lu Hong, I'm serious about dating." He was afraid that she wouldn't be satisfied with him. He was afraid that it was just temporary. He had heard of Sister Hong's bold and unrestrained past. He didn't care too much. He was just afraid that she wouldn't be serious. Sister Hong leaned against the back of the chair. Suddenly, she gently hooked her arms around his neck and pulled him closer. Not far away, Master Ching was sitting in a car. His eyes were practically spitting fire as he looked at the couple. Chapter 52-72. Master Ching ground his white teeth. He was truly furious. He was about to get out of the car when Xiao Mao reminded him kindly, "Master Ching, you were the one who said that you wanted sister-in-law to get married. Now that she has found a good partner, aren't you happy?" He wasn't unhappy, but Master Chang's expression was scary. Master Chang's hand really stopped. He narrowed his eyes and smiled after a while. "Yes, I'm giving my blessings generously. How can I not let it go? Who do you think I am?" But as he spoke, his eyes turned red. Yes, she did as he said. She really wanted a family. What's wrong with women? Why do they want to be together forever when they meet a man? Isn't it good to be happy together? Master Ching leaned his head against the back of the chair. He didn't say anything and just lit a big cigar. After a few puffs, he felt that it was very tasteless and put it down. Xiao Mao stared fixedly at his family's Master Ching. After a long time, Master Ching said, "Forget it, let's go." Xiao Mao stuttered, not waiting. Master Ching was so angry that his eyes turned red. He roared, "What are you waiting for?" "Waiting for me to finish." The car slowly started. Master Ching sat in the dark, biting his fist and his eyes red. He didn't say a word. When he closed his eyes, he saw Sister Hong's beauty. Maybe she was lying next to another man right now. Just thinking about it made his heart ache. That's my woman. But it seemed that he had no choice but to let her go. He was the one who didn't want her, he was the one who said that marriage required a child. Alright, she had found another man to marry. This woman was so unrestrained, how could a man stand it? Master Cheng's hand was about to be bitten. After the car drove for about 10 minutes, he said anxiously, "Go back, go back." Xiao Mao also said hurriedly, "Go back, Master Ching has something important to do." After the driver witnessed the whole process, he was cursing in his heart. It had already been 10 minutes. Wasn't that the relationship between a man and a woman? If they drove back, it would be 20 minutes. What was going to happen would have happened long ago. Besides, even if they could prevent it today, could they prevent it tomorrow? Also, Master Cheng and Sister Hong had broken up. Everyone knew Sister Hong's temper. She would never give in. This time, it was Master Cheng who had gone overboard. He wanted to separate Sister Hong from him so that he could look for a girl. He had played it too well. She was a woman, but the woman who cared about him couldn't stand it. Sister Hong was actually quite humble in the end. She was probably waiting for Master Ching to change his mind. Master Ching didn't. He just told them to leave. You told her to disperse, and now she's looking for a man to go home and have some fun. Why do you care? Rush up to catch the adulterer. They are now boyfriend and girlfriend, while Master Ching is an outdated mistress. However, the driver still drove the car back without saying a word. The car drove very fast and even ran a red light. However, when the car stopped, Master Ching didn't move. He just sat there in a daze. Xiao Mao urged, "Master Ching, the car has already stopped here." Master Ching tilted his head and looked at the elevator without making a sound. Xiao Mao didn't dare to say anything and just silently accompanied him. After waiting for about half an hour, Professor Lin came down, but Sister Hong did not. Professor Lin was in his 30s. He was quite good-looking and had a good temperament and demeanor. After all, he was from a scholarly family. Master Chang's eyes darkened as he watched the man get into the car. He was probably sending a message to Sister Hong. He held his phone for a while. Master Ching was furious. He got out of the car and walked over. Chapter 52-73. Master Ching was furious. He got out of the car and walked over. Xiao Mao screamed, "Master Ching, calm down." However, how could Master Ching calm down now? He was thinking about what this gigolo and Lu Hong had done in the past hour. He even had a satisfied look on his face. Master Ching opened the car door and dragged Professor Lin out, pressing him against the car door. He breathed heavily through his nose. "Did you touch her?" Professor Lin was shocked. Then, he looked at the furious man in front of him and slowly remembered who this man was. He was Lu Hong's ex. The matter between Sister Hong and Master Ching wasn't a secret in B City. Now that they were separated, it was even more so. Master Ching was very high profile. Everyone knew about the sisters. Su Mu even called him and scolded him, saying that he was a scumbag. If it was someone else, Master Ching would have beaten him up. However, it was Su Mu, so he could only pinch his nose and accept it. At that moment, Professor Lin looked at Master Ching and was actually a little afraid. He was a scholar and he was a leader in the underworld. How could he not be afraid? However, he was also a man. He admired Sister Hong and felt that she was the woman he wanted. He wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. At this moment, he couldn't be afraid. Professor Lin pushed his glasses and said politely, "Even if there is something, it's consensual. I won't force her or lie to her." Master Cheng was stunned. Did that mean there was something? He was furious. His mind was filled with unbearable images. He waved his hand and punched Professor Lin's face. Professor Lin was instantly injured. However, he was still a little stubborn. "Let Lu Hong go. You aren't worthy of her." Master Cheng wanted to hit him a second time, but he was stunned. He stood quietly in the cold wind. His heart felt like it had been frozen. After he became famous and rich, he could have any woman he wanted except for his benefactor. However, he still managed to get his hands on a tough bone like Sister Hong. No one had ever told him that he wasn't worthy of any woman. Although many people looked down on him and thought that he was rude and uncultured, this was the first time they said it so directly. Professor Lin looked a little like Zhu Long. Although he looked weak, his eyes were firm. He supported himself against the car and said again, "Don't you think so? If you're a man, then stop pestering her. Is it fun to ruin her life over and over again?" Master Cheng stared straight at him. Professor Lin continued, "You broke up. A man and a woman who had broken up should not be involved with each other again. Qing Zheng, has no one ever told you that sometimes money and fists can't be exchanged for feelings? How do you expect a woman who you've hurt to turn back?" Qing Zheng was completely stunned. He took out a cigar and stared at the pretty boy as he smoked. He was gentle and weak, but he was indeed a man. Qing Zheng's Adam's apple bobbed twice, and his voice couldn't be any hoarser. "Did she tell you?" "No." Professor Lin said calmly, "The Lu Hong I know is definitely not an unfaithful person." Master Cheng's hand dropped to his side. He took a few steps back and looked at Professor Lin. After a long time, he went forward and adjusted Professor Lin's collar. "You're quite compatible with her. Congratulations." His voice was unbelievably hoarse. He lost his composure and turned around to leave. However, the moment he turned around, he saw Sister Hong standing there. She was quiet and emotionless. Chapter 52-74. Updated quickly, Sister Hong walked over slowly and placed a cup in Professor Lin's hand. "I just made some tea, drink it on the way." Professor Lin smiled. "Okay." He ruffled her hair, a standard boyfriend gesture. Master Cheng was like a rooster that had lost a fight, standing there. Professor Lin got into the car and left, giving Sister Hong some privacy to deal with her personal matters. Sister Hong waved at him, then turned around and walked into the hall. She ignored Master Cheng's call. Master Cheng was a little angry. "Woman, I'm calling you." Sister Hong tilted her head and looked at him quietly, then smiled faintly. "What's the matter?" Master Cheng lowered his head. "You and him are really together?" "Yes. I think he's a good marriage partner." Sister Hong's voice was especially indifferent. Master Cheng was stunned for a moment, then followed her. "You have to be careful. What if you meet a scumbag?" "I've already met the biggest scumbag, I'm not afraid of even more scumbags." Sister Hong entered the elevator and turned her head. "Don't follow me, or I'll call the police." She said it resolutely, there was not a trace of emotion in her eyes, it seemed like she really wanted to break up with him completely. Master Cheng was quite disappointed as he watched the elevator door close. After a long time, he walked back dejectedly. Xiao Mao looked at Master Cheng sympathetically. At this moment, Master Cheng was like a defeated rooster. Master Ching got into the car and touched his head. Let's go. Xiao Mao asked one more question. Where to? Master Ching was silent for a while before saying, Didn't you buy the villa that I used to live in with Sister Hong? Let's go there. When Xiao Mao heard this, he knew that Master Ching couldn't let go. He really couldn't let go. Why did Master Ching have to do this? Wasn't things good back then? Sister-in-law wholeheartedly cared about Master Ching. Master Ching was still fooling around outside, playing so wildly. Xiao Mao looked at his sister-in-law's expression. There was no greater sorrow than death. Master Ching sat in the car and arrived at the villa in the middle of the night. He did nothing but lie down. Silently thinking about that woman, silently wondering if it was the end of the road. Doing nothing, his mind was empty. This was the first time in Qing Zheng's life that he had experienced what regret was. When they had just parted, the sisters had accompanied them, and the brothers had bowed down to them. It was indeed refreshing for a while, but why did they miss that woman after just a few glances? Master Ching felt that he was a little useless. After sitting there for half the night, he felt that he couldn't sit still anymore. He drove to Sister Hong's building and didn't dare to disturb her. He just sat in the car for the night. Early in the morning, he couldn't hold it in any longer and touched it. He had a spare key. He had forgotten to give it to her when he left. It was still with him. He opened the door carefully and ran in like a cat. On Saturday, Sister Hong was still sleeping in her bedroom. The air was filled with the fragrance of a woman. It smelled good, and it made people a little ecstatic. Especially at this moment, Master Ching couldn't wait to get his hands on her. He took off his shoes and went to the bedroom. Sure enough, she was still asleep. She was lying on her side, wearing white silk pajamas. Master Ching walked over and half knelt on the carpet, silently watching her sleeping face. Their faces were a little too close. She has lost weight. She wasn't fat in the first place, and she had lost weight recently. It had only been half a month, or even just a month, and she had lost so much weight. However, she still looked good, especially in this kind of pajamas, which made her look especially feminine. Master Ching hadn't been here for a long time. He missed it very much, but no matter what he thought, he didn't dare to do anything. He felt quite satisfied just looking at her like this. Chapter 52-75. Memorize. When Sister Hong opened her eyes, she saw a certain man lying beside her. She didn't seem surprised and just looked at him quietly. After a while, she finally sat up. At that moment, the silk fabric stuck to her curves, and her long hair rippled in a beautiful way. It was quite seductive. Master Ching was still kneeling there. His voice was a little hoarse. I just came. Don't worry, I didn't do anything. Sister Hong flipped her hair and asked, What are you doing here? Do you want to have sex with me, or do you want to live like a fake husband and wife again? Ching Zheng, I don't need either. Let's separate. Very softly, she said, Don't bother me again, will you? Master Ching wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be blocked by something. He couldn't say a word. After a long time, he said in a low voice, I just came to see you. Just as he finished speaking, the bedside lamp smashed under his feet. That very expensive crystal lamp was bought by them when they went shopping together. It was worth hundreds of thousands, and now it was smashed by her. Master Cheng's heart ached a little. They had bought it together. The broken pieces on the ground seemed to be pricking his heart. Sister Hong laughed. Ching Zheng, do you feel that you've been wronged? She raised her head and said, Do you know how cheap you are? You're the one who fooled around with women outside, and now you're the one who pretends to be in love with me. You're either schizophrenic or crazy. Master Chang's throat was blocked, and he finally squeezed out a sentence. Break up with that gigolo, and we'll start over. Sister Hong looked at him and then turned her head away. She said nothing. Master Ching waited, his heart beating faster. He had never felt so uneasy in his life. After an unknown amount of time, Sister Hong slowly turned her head and said softly, Ching Zheng, I will never be able to forgive you in this lifetime. I've told you before, I hate betrayal the most, but I hate myself even more for being wronged. You know what happened to you outside in the last half a month, and I know it too. I pretended to be deaf and mute, and even I looked down on myself. But even so, you still said to separate. It can be seen that it's wrong for a woman to throw herself wholeheartedly at a man. She doesn't know how to cherish him. Master Chang's voice trembled. Lu Hong, you still like me, don't you? Do I like you? Do I like you sleeping with other women? Ching Zheng, I don't want to cry anymore. I look down on myself. Look, I found a university professor. He doesn't care about my past, and he doesn't care if I can have children. He's willing to marry me. As long as I nod my head, I can have a wonderful marriage. Ching Zheng, I beg of you. Can you let me go? I can't afford to play your games. Ching Zheng narrowed her eyes. You really don't care about the past at all. Sister Hong lowered her gaze. Ching Zheng, what are you trying to say? Are you going to touch Professor Lin? Then let me tell you, I will find you to settle whatever he has. If you want him to disappear, then I will disappear too. Master Chang's eyes reddened. Do you like that gigolo so much? Sister Hong didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. Her expression told him that she was serious. Master Chang stood up. After a moment of silence, he smiled and said, All right, I was thinking too much. In the future, we'll go our separate ways. I won't hold you back from finding your next home. After saying that, he walked out, his eyes a little red. Sister Hong sat there, lost in thought. Chapter 52-76. After Master Ching left, he really lived a very absurd life. During that time, he didn't lack alcohol, women, cigars, but without Sister Hong by his side, everything was still empty. Master Ching knew that he regretted it. Occasionally, he would meet her. It was quite strange. He clearly didn't want to look for her, but he always met her. About a month or so, he met her 3 times. It was still that respectable man beside her. They had a meal together, drank coffee together, and once in the car, to pick up something. Master Chang looked at it through the car window, and his heart was cold, an indescribable feeling. Not long ago, this woman was still his, lying in his arms obediently, and he could do whatever he wanted. Now, someone else held her face, and he could do whatever he wanted to her. Damn it, that woman still had an intoxicated expression on her face. Master Chang stood there and looked at her for a long time, as if he was torturing himself, before leaving. That night, he parked the car below Sister Hong's building and waited for the whole night. That woman didn't come back. Did she spend the night at Professor Lin's house? Was she ready to become Mrs. Lin? Master Ching sat in the car alone, smoking a cigar. He smiled and drove the car away. Sister Hong went to the news agency. Du Meili caused some trouble during the interview, and Sister Hong had to settle it. After spending a lot of money and connections, he finally managed to settle the matter. Du Meili walked to Sister Hong's office. Sister Hong lit a cigarette, but she didn't smoke it. She just lit it. Du Meili walked over, her eyes a little red. Sister Hong. Sister Hong glanced at her, her expression a little serious. You can't stay in B City. Pack up and go back to your hometown. If your man is willing to go with you, then go. If not, then leave. Dumeli, your life is more important than your man, do you know that? Dumeli also knew that she had caused a lot of trouble, and her voice was a little choked. What will you do if I leave? Today is temporarily settled, but there will be more trouble in the future. Sister Hong held the cigarette in her hand and watched the smoke float gently. Don't bother me. Don't I have more connections than you? She paused for a moment. I can help you sell the house. Also. She took out a card from the drawer. There's 2 million in here, including the money from selling your house. Buy a house in a small city, and it's enough for you to live for 10 years. Don't come back. Dumeli refused to take the money, so Sister Hong stuffed it into her hands. Don't be so wishy-washy. It's settled. She waved her hand. I'll book the tickets right away. Dumeli bit her lips and finally left. She had filmed a rich man's private life, but unfortunately, it had leaked out. The other party wanted to kill her now. She had to run. Dumeli suddenly thought that if Sister Hong and Master Ching were together, this kind of thing would be easy to settle. However, it was just a thought. Soon, she scolded Ching Zheng from the inside out. She was still feeling a little guilty, but Sister Hong said calmly, we are in the media. It's normal to offend people. You don't have to blame yourself. Go home and pack up. Dumeli nodded and immediately went home to pack. However, she was still stuck at the airport, and the matter that had been settled could not be settled again. The main reason was that the scale of the photo was a little too big, and the other party was a female star. This time, Dumeli must be killed. Fortunately, Dumeli called Sister Hong before she realized that she was being followed. Sister Hong had a headache. She had no choice but to find Su Mu and ask Yi Xiangnan for help. With the help of President Yi, things were much simpler, and it was settled very quickly. Chapter 5277. With CEO Ye's help, things became much simpler. The female celebrity wasn't from Stars Entertainment, but from King Entertainment. As for the tycoon, it was even easier. CEO Yi called the tycoon's wife. That tycoon's wife was from a noble family, so how could she tolerate the little vixen? She brought her husband home and cut off all ties with the little vixen. Dumeli survived the ordeal without any mishaps. When she returned to the news agency, Sister Hong was still there. She hadn't slept for the entire morning. When she saw Dumeli, she wanted to say something. But when she raised her hand in mid-air, she suddenly felt low blood sugar and fainted. Dumeli was terrified. She called out to Sister Hong a few times, but no one responded. Hence, she ran to Zhang Fucai's office. Sister Hong fainted. Quick, carry her downstairs and send her to the hospital. Zhang Fucai was stunned too. He immediately ran over. He was clearly a fatty, but now, he had become a potential stock. He carried Sister Hong with all his might and placed her in the car. Dumeli and an assistant followed. When they arrived at the hospital, they quickly sent her to the emergency room. The doctor came out quickly and took off his mask. Who is the patient's family member? Zhang Fucai and Dumeli looked at each other. Zhang Fucai stepped forward. I am. What's wrong, doctor? The doctor smiled. You must be her husband. Congratulations, your wife is pregnant. Pregnant? Zhang Fucai was completely stunned. He had heard that Lu Hong couldn't get pregnant again. Speaking of which, it was him and Dumeli who made her. But now, they were the ones who sent Sister Hong over and she was pregnant. Whose child was it? Dumeli looked at Zhang Fucai. Zhang Fucai scoffed. Don't look at me. We have nothing to do with each other. Besides, why would she like a fatty like me? Dreamy was a little embarrassed, but she couldn't care less. She whispered, I didn't mean that. I mean, is the child Master Cheng's or Professor Lin's? Sister Hong and Master Cheng had only been apart for a month. The doctor said that the child was 2 months old. Dreamy covered her mouth. Then, is the child Master Cheng's? Zhang Fucai's feelings were complicated. He didn't know how far her relationship with Professor Lin had progressed. If it reached that stage, their relationship would be messy enough. However, he didn't dare to ask such a question. With Sister Hong's fiery temper, she would probably beat him to death. Don't ask anything later. Don't make trouble, okay? Zhang Fucai explained like an old mother. Dreamy was a little unconvinced. Do you think I'm retarded? Of course I won't ask. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to resist asking who the child is. They could be considered old friends, but at this moment, they actually stood up for Sister Hong. After saying a few words, he also felt that it was a little funny, so he stopped. The two of them went to the ward. Sister Hong had already woken up after she was hooked up. She lay there quietly, lost in thought. Zhang Fucai and Dreamy walked over. Sister Hong said softly, I really never thought that I would have a child one day. Furthermore, you guys were the ones who sent me to the hospital. Lu Hong. There was some guilt in Zhang Fucai's voice. Dreamy was also very ashamed. She had gone too far in the past and caused Sister Hong to suffer so badly. Sister Hong shook her head. It's all in the past. She stroked her flat belly and said, now I have another child. Zhang Fucai didn't dare to ask who the child was. After holding it in for a long time, he went out for a smoke. Chapter 5278. Zhang Fucai didn't dare to ask who the child belonged to. After holding it in for a long time, he went out for a smoke and asked his wife to cook a pot of chicken soup. His wife admired Sister Hong very much. She didn't mind knowing that she was his ex-wife. She probably trusted Sister Hong a lot. Dreamy sat in front of the hospital bed. Sister Hong turned her head and smiled. You must really want to know who the child is, right? Dreamy shook her head. Sister Hong smiled gently. The child is mine. Dreamy asked carefully, it's Master Cheng's, isn't it? Sister Hong's mouth trembled slightly, but she didn't deny it. Dreamy was even more emotional than her. It's that bastard's child. Are you really going to give birth to it? That bastard said he didn't want it, and you're still going to give birth to his child. She continued, Professor Lin is such a good person. Don't be silly. Sister Hong said softly, the child is my child. It has nothing to do with Qingzheng. Also, you haven't experienced my despair. You don't know how important this child is to me. Dreamy's eyes turned red. She felt sorry for Sister Hong. After a long time, she slowly asked, you're not going to reconcile with Qingzheng, are you? Sister Hong shook her head and smiled. Why would I? Didn't I say that the child is mine? It has nothing to do with Qingzheng. I'll raise it well. Dreamy's voice became even softer. I broke up today. That dead man doesn't want me anymore. I'll help you raise the child in the future. Sure. Sister Hong smiled faintly. At the entrance of the hospital, Zhang Fucai stood and smoked. Suddenly, his gaze stopped and he stared at one place. It was Master Cheng. Xiao Mao was seriously injured and was hospitalized. Master Cheng was kind enough to visit him. As soon as he went out, he saw Zhang Fucai standing in front of the obstetrics and gynecology building, looking around and smoking. Master Ching swaggered over and kicked his leg from behind. What's wrong? Your wife gave birth to 3 children again. She's quite capable, giving birth one after another like the Calabash brothers. Are you going to have 7 brothers in the future? Master Cheng's mood was quite complicated when he saw him. Because Master Ching was suspected to be one of the children's fathers, he couldn't say it, so he just looked at Master Ching strangely. Master Ching snorted coldly. What? Have you never seen a man who is better looking than you? Zhang Fucai laughed along. Master Ching is quite good looking. No wonder so many women like him. These words weren't sour, but rather sarcastic. At that time, when Sister Hong followed him, he felt that she had found the right man and that he wouldn't have to worry about her anymore. But after a few months, this bastard dumped Sister Hong, and the reason was that he couldn't have children. Go to hell, you son of a bitch. He smiled and said, It sounds like you're feeling indignant and you're feeling indignant for Lu Hong. If you're feeling indignant, then there's no need for that. The great reporter Lu hasn't been idling around. Didn't she find a professor? It's not like she didn't go home last night. Who knows, she might be rolling around somewhere. Why are you still feeling indignant for her? Seriously, take care of yourself. After Master Ching said that, he prepared to leave. At that moment, Zhang Fucai's wife came over with a bowl of chicken soup. She didn't know Master Ching and thought that he was just an ordinary friend, so she said to Zhang Fucai, The soup is ready. This is chicken soup. It's most suitable for pregnant women to nourish their bodies. Sister Hong will definitely feel better after drinking it. Chapter 52-79. Zhang Fucai nearly fainted when he heard that. He wished he could scold his wife to death and shut her mouth. She would say whatever she was afraid of. Master Cheng's sharp ears heard it, and his whole body trembled. Then, he retracted his foot that was about to step out and walked in front of Zhang Fucai's little wife. He politely asked, Can you repeat what you just said? Zhang Fucai's wife looked at her husband's expression and then at Master Cheng's appearance. She suddenly realized who the person in front of her was. It was Master Cheng. God, her mouth was wide open. Zhang Fucai immediately said, What nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up and go home. The child is waiting for your chicken soup. Stop talking in your sleep. His little wife replied with an "oh" and carefully looked at Master Cheng while retreating. However, 2 black-clothed men immediately stood behind her. Master Cheng took 2 steps forward and played with the lighter in his hand. He smiled lightly and said, Chief Editor Zhang, you have 2 paths in front of you right now. Either you tell me the truth, or I bring your wife back. I just don't know if her bones are tough enough to withstand my questioning. If you feel bad for her, then come back with me yourself. I have ways to make you talk. What do you think? Zhang Fucai was so angry that the fats on his body were trembling. Is there no law? I am the law. Master Cheng narrowed his eyes. Tell me, is my daughter pregnant? Zhang Fucai's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He knew that if he let go, Sister Hong would probably be taken away by Master Cheng. What a joke, she was most likely pregnant with this bastard's child. Zhang Fucai suddenly had an idea. She's pregnant. I've already informed Professor Lin. Master Cheng's face tightened and he was a little stunned. After a long time, he scratched his head. A child with the surname Lin. Zhang Fucai gathered his courage. What else? Could it be someone else's? Master Cheng thought about it. They had only been separated for a month and she was already pregnant. It could be seen that she and that Lin guy had, directly, done that the moment they met. He clenched his fists and his face was cold. What was even more shocking was that he and Sister Hong had been together for a few months. She said that she couldn't get pregnant, but they never used contraception. So it wasn't that she couldn't get pregnant, it was that he, Qing, was useless. This kind of discovery made Master Qing feel especially embarrassed. He rubbed his nose and said softly, "Don't tell her that you met me, or else I'll kill you." Zhang Fucai nodded and bowed, saying that he wouldn't say anything. But when he turned around, he told her everything in the ward. His wife felt especially guilty. "Sister Hong, it's all my fault." Sister Hong was a little shocked. She didn't expect Qing to find out so quickly. However, it was good that he misunderstood her as Professor Lin's child. She gestured for Zhang Fucai to comfort his wife, but Zhang Fucai was clumsy and looked very awkward. Du Meili rolled her eyes. Then, Sister Hong scanned the ward and found that the relationship between the four of them was quite subtle. She couldn't help but smile. Du Meili whispered, "Sister Hong, how can you still laugh? Qing will find out sooner or later that this child is not Professor Lin's. What if he hits the door?" Sister Hong lowered her eyes. "Don't be afraid. He won't dare to do anything to me. I broke up with him, and he's in the wrong. And she would never forgive him." Du Meili reminded her softly, "He's unreasonable. Sister Hong, don't use ordinary people to measure him." Sister Hong laughed. "I'm not even afraid of him, so what are you afraid of? Don't worry. At most, I'll find another place to stay and find another hospital." Chapter 5280. A week later, Sister Hong was discharged from the hospital. She looked very energetic. She was wearing a beige wool skirt and a beige coat, which looked warm and gentle. She asked Professor Lin out for coffee as a way to end things. Sister Hong wasn't a confused person. Nothing had happened between her and Professor Lin, and this child couldn't be Professor Lin's, so she definitely couldn't be with him. After drinking half a cup of water, she said calmly, "I'm pregnant." Professor Lin was surprised. After a long time, he came back to his senses. "What happened?" Sister Hong smiled and said, "It's Qing's child. I thought I couldn't get pregnant, so, it was an accident." Professor Lin looked at her expression and said slowly, "It's also a beautiful accident, isn't it?" Sister Hong sighed and said, "It can't be considered beautiful. Actually, I'm looking forward to married life with you, but now we really have to break up. Don't say that you don't care, I do. I can't accept you when I'm pregnant with someone else's child. That's not fair. It's more unfair to you than me not being able to give birth." She paused for a moment and said, "And I really want this child. Consider it my selfishness, Congwen." Lin Congwen was a little disappointed. As a man, he couldn't say that he didn't mind. He admired Sister Hong very much and wanted to marry her. It didn't matter if they had children or not. He had always been a dink. Now that she was pregnant, they wanted to break up. Lin Congwen smiled bitterly and said, "Lu Hong, you're really making things difficult for me." Sister Hong said in a low voice, "I'm sorry." Lin Congwen sighed and said, "How about this, we won't break up. When the child is born, if you still feel that I have feelings for you, we'll still be together, okay?" He continued, "I probably won't have any feelings for any girl in a short period of time. Let's not wait for you. Let's just let nature take its course, okay?" Such a man and such a proposal would make any woman's heart move. Sister Hong did like him, so she tacitly agreed. Lin Congwen whispered, "Then we're friends now. If there's anything, look for me." He was afraid that she didn't understand, so he lowered his voice and said, "You always need a man to accompany you during a prenatal checkup. Aren't pregnant women the most vulnerable?" Although there was a small accident, Professor Lin did not want to give up on Sister Hong because of this accident. He really did like her. If the price was a child, then he would raise it as his own. Perhaps he was studying abroad. This realm was indeed different. It was much more open. Sister Hong secretly thought that if Qing Zheng was the one who raised someone else's son, she would probably jump up high and curse the heavens. Thinking of that man, she felt a burst of anxiety, bowing her head to drink the water. Lin Congwen asked her a question seriously. "Do you plan to get back together with Mr. Qing?" If so, he quit. If not, he insisted. Sister Hong flipped her hair and smiled. "Why would I?" Professor Lin heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't say anything. He drank his coffee and chatted with Sister Hong for a while. After that, he personally drove her home in her car. After that, he often appeared in her life. Sister Hong really liked him and felt that he was a good man. Professor Lin was right. He really loved Sister Hong. For the first 3 months, Sister Hong had to be careful. She spent most of her time at home, and Du Meili would come over if there was anything. Chapter 5281. Updated quickly, days passed and Sister Hong's pregnancy had been stable for more than 3 months. The doctor also said that she could go out for a walk. Sister Hong went to look for Su Mu to go shopping and eat. After dinner, she asked Su Mu to recommend some clothes for the baby. Su Mu smiled. "I think you've had too many good days. Think about how miserable I was when I was pregnant with Cymbidium chinense. I didn't have the money to buy any brands. I just went to the wholesale market to buy some cheap and pure cotton for Cymbidium chinense to wear." Sister Hong held her chin. It's not easy for Cymbidium chinense to be rich. Inheritance is a good thing. Then, she couldn't help but think of the child in her stomach. It was Qing Zhang's. Could it be that no matter how rich she was, she still had the temperament of a nouveau riche? Just thinking about it made her feel scared. Su Mu smiled. "But we can go and take a look together." Sister Hong looked at her. "You're not pregnant too, are you?" Su Mu smiled. "How can it be so fast? I want to wait for another year or 2. Sister Hong sighed. "Your relationship with CEO Yi is quite stable now." Su Mu took a sip of black tea. "It's not bad. It's just that the son of a rich family has a bad temper and is quite difficult to serve." Sister Hong smiled. Her smile was filled with warmth. Su Mu glanced at Sister Hong. "What about you and Professor Lin?" Sister Hong felt a little guilty. She didn't dare to tell Su Mu that the child was Qing Zhang's. If Su Mu went to question Qing Zheng, it would be over. She drank her tea and said vaguely, "The child was quite unexpected. Isn't my stomach big now? I want to wait until the child is born. I'm considered an old woman, so I can't work too hard." When Su Mu heard this, he felt that something was wrong. But this was Sister Hong's private matter, so it wasn't appropriate for her to ask too much. However, she wasn't worried. Sister Hong was rich, charming, and had a good figure. Now, she even had a child. She wasn't afraid at all. After dinner and tea, Su Mu accompanied Sister Hong to buy baby products. But before that, she thought of something. "Let's buy some maternity clothes. They are comfortable and the style is also nice." Sister Hong thought about it and agreed. Therefore, the two of them first went to the women's clothing department. There was a shop that sold maternity clothes that were especially popular. Sister Hong and Sumu chose from there. After a while, he picked a few pieces. Sister Hong wanted to try it on, so she took the clothes to the fitting room. However, after a while, she walked out with a bad look on her face. She did not even try on the clothes. Sumu was puzzled. What's wrong? Just as he finished asking, Master Cheng and a very beautiful girl walked out of the fitting room. Sumu instantly understood. She really did not know what to say in this situation. She could only glare at Master Cheng. Master Cheng was a little baffled. She can have a child with another man, but can't I have a girlfriend? His new female companion was a model. She was 176 centimeters tall and had a very good figure. The lines of her face looked a little like Sister Hong. Master Cheng had kept her by his side for a month. He was quite obsessed with her. As for Sister Hong, she was already pregnant with another man. What else couldn't he do? Master Cheng was quite ridiculous. He had a small model and other women. He didn't care anymore. He had been chaste for a period of time. But it turned out that that kind of life was not suitable for him. At this moment, his eyes seemed to be on fire as he stared at Sister Hong's stomach. It was as if he had a grudge against the child. Sister Hong thought that he was crazy and did not want to talk to him. She felt uncomfortable and bothered. In the end, she said that she was going home without buying anything. Chapter 5282. Sumu was worried, so she personally drove her back. Master Cheng stood at the handrail on the second floor of the mall and watched Sister Hong leave. He felt a little upset. They had already broken up, so why did he still care what she thought of him? It wasn't like he hadn't seen him like this before. What was so strange about it? However, he still felt guilty. He felt that when she saw him today, there was a deep hatred in her eyes. Master Cheng was also stung by that gaze. He didn't let go of the little model in front of her, but deliberately provoked her. Master Cheng's eyes turned red. He thought that something was wrong. They were living quite well in the past. He was the one who messed around, but when she asked about marriage, he exploded and wanted to break up. In the past, he probably despised her for not being able to get pregnant. Actually, he didn't care much about a child, but he was afraid of being restricted. She was pregnant and was going to get married soon. Master Cheng took out a cigar and a mall worker came over to persuade him. Sir, we don't allow cigars here. You can go to the smoking area. Master Cheng glanced at him. He originally wanted to beat this blind man up, but then he thought about it. If he did that, he would be looked down upon by that woman, Lu Hong. She already disliked him for being a boorish man. Yes, he was an uncouth man, which was why they broke up. If he had the awareness of a gigolo like Professor Lin and knew how to coax women, they wouldn't have ended up like this. Master Cheng felt bad and didn't have the mood to smoke anymore. At that moment, the little model came over and pestered Master Cheng, saying that she hadn't bought him a gift yet. Master Cheng threw a check at her and said, "Take it, don't bother me anymore." The little model was dumbfounded. This was a breakup fee. Master Cheng didn't want her anymore. Master Cheng clearly liked her a lot before, so why did he abandon her like that? She didn't believe it. However, she had no choice but to believe it. Master Cheng didn't even look at her and left, shaking his head. The little model lowered her head and looked at the check. It was 2 million. After accompanying Master Cheng for a month, 2 million was worth it. She vaguely felt that there was a woman in Master Cheng's heart, the one just now. Otherwise, why would he not want her anymore? Master Cheng was indeed unhappy in his heart. He thought that he could forget it, but every time he met that woman, Lu Hong, his heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. He let out a long sigh, got into his car, and drove until he reached Sister Hong's apartment. Coincidentally, Su Mu's car drove away, so Master Ching knew that Sister Hong was at home. He sat in the car and smoked a cigar. Then he went upstairs weakly. Sister Hong probably expected him to come, so she opened the door for him and politely asked, "What's the matter?" This politeness made Master Chang's heart ache. He looked inside. "Your man isn't here." Sister Hong let him in. She was pregnant now and couldn't handle Master Ching going crazy. This might be her only chance. When Master Ching went in, he looked around and found that there was no more man's shoes here. He smiled happily. "Is that pretty boy inferior to me? Is that why you never let him come?" Sister Hong didn't say anything. She just held her stomach and walked to the sofa to sit down. "Pour yourself some water if you want to drink." He was stung by her actions. She was pregnant and the child wasn't his. What was he so proud of? He was a useless man. Useless. Chapter 5283. Master Chang's eyes reddened. He walked over and squatted down in front of her, leaning his head over. "Lu Hong, am I useless? I'm not a man." If he had gotten her pregnant back then, there would have been nothing left for the Lin family. Now, she wouldn't have to become someone else's wife, and he wouldn't have to feel so bad. No matter how many women there were, they couldn't fill the hole in his heart. That hole was getting bigger and bigger. It hurt. Ever since Master Chang's debut, he had been pierced countless times. However, he had never frowned. But now, it was different. It was quite painful. Sister Hong didn't push him away. She said softly, "Qingjing, it's not because of the child. You will still do things to me even if you have a child. I gave you a chance and let go of my bottom line." She sat on the sofa and recalled the things she didn't want to recall. "At that time, on the nights you didn't come back, I would think about where you were, which women were by your side, and whether they were younger and prettier than me. That's why you didn't come home. I also thought that if I gave you some time, you might be able to think it through and whether you wanted to be with me. Qingjing, do you think I don't hurt? Do you think I'm invulnerable? I'm just an ordinary woman, a woman who had a miscarriage and a divorce because of her husband's betrayal. Yes, I'm not young and good-looking anymore, and I don't want to fall in love with a man like you. Really, I'm much more tolerant of you than Zhang Fucai. It's not because you're richer than him, but because I think you're like a child who hasn't grown up yet. I don't think you've thought it through. Qingjing, you didn't want me before that day came. It's like throwing away any woman you've been tired of in the past, without mercy." Sister Hong sat there and said quietly. Her face was also calm. However, every single sentence was like a stab into Master Chang's heart. Master Chang had never heard her say these things. He had always thought that she was free and easy. At least, when she said she wanted to break up, she didn't hesitate and was even more decisive than a man like him. Sister Hong smiled. "Qingjing, I'm telling you this not because I want to get back together with you, but because I want you to know that it's impossible between us. It's impossible under any circumstances." Master Chang's heart was thumping. He half knelt on the ground and suddenly burst into tears. An old man was shedding tears. However, Sister Hong was indifferent because her tears had already dried up when he went out to fool around. At that time, he was playing outside and she really couldn't wait any longer, so she drove over. Through the crack in the door, she saw him hugging one in his left hand and the other in his right, smiling happily. Our ending was so unbearable. I just wanted to end it with dignity. Qingjing, it's not as peaceful as you think. You're just used to others obeying you. You only care about your own feelings and don't care about others. Maybe you think you love me, but if you love me, how could you bear to hurt me like that? Sister Hong shook her head and said softly, so, don't come again. I will marry Professor Lin after this child is born. Master Cheng was stunned. He did not speak for a long time. Sister Hong's voice sounded a little tired. Cheng Zheng, can we part on good terms? I'm pregnant. I only have one chance. I'm begging you. Don't come again. She said softly, Kongwen won't be happy either. Chapter 5284. This was the first time in Master Cheng's life that he felt a knife stabbing into his heart. He wanted to speak, but the words were stuck in his throat and he couldn't say a single word. He just felt terrible. After a long time, he asked a ridiculous question, do you like me more or him more? Sister Hong sat there and looked at the scenery outside the floor-to-ceiling window. She said softly, at my age, it's no longer about liking, it's just about whether I'm suitable or not. Cheng Zheng, do you understand? Master Cheng slowly stood up, knowing that things had reached a point where there was no turning back. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and stood there silently for a while before saying in a hoarse voice, Lu Hong, you might think it's funny that I'm saying this, but you're the first woman I've ever regretted leaving. I don't know if that's love. Maybe I don't understand love at all, otherwise, why would I hurt your heart time and time again? He came over again and squatted in front of her, looking up at her face. He reached out as if he wanted to touch her face, but in the end, he retracted his hand. His voice was hoarse. I'm sorry for making you so sad. If you want to be with that pretty boy, if you feel that you're that happy, then marry him. I promise I won't do anything to him and I won't disturb you again. Sister Hong's nose was a little sore as she lowered her head. Thank you. Master Cheng's breathing became hot and his voice was hoarse. What are you thanking me for? I'm such a bastard, why are you thanking me? As he said that, he remembered that he couldn't get her pregnant and punched the sofa angrily. Fortunately, he still had some self-control and didn't hit her side. After venting the anger in his heart like that, he really didn't have the face to stay any longer and left quickly. After he left, Sister Hong walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked outside. She couldn't tell if she had loved Cheng Jing before, but she was probably obsessed with money and his so-called manliness. She only felt that when he coaxed her, she was very happy, but when he turned around and hugged another woman, she was very sad. Even now, it still hurt a little. Sister Hong laughed softly, laughing a little self-deprecatingly. Master Cheng said that he wouldn't appear in her life anymore, but she would always run into him. Often, he would park his car downstairs, but he would not go upstairs to look for her, nor would he look for her phone. He would park there for an entire night. Sister Hong didn't know what he meant and didn't want to talk to him. After a long time, he probably lost interest and didn't come for a week. Sister Hong heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that he wouldn't come. She was still in good health. Occasionally, she would have tea with Su Mu or go to a concert with Professor Lin. They were just like ordinary friends, without any intimacy. He was giving Sister Hong time, and Sister Hong was also giving him time to think things through. It's one thing not to have children, it's another thing to raise someone else's. After the concert, Professor Lin sent Sister Hong home. The car slowly drove to her building and saw Ching Zheng's car parked there. Sister Hong felt a headache coming on. He hadn't come for a week, and now he had to continue. Professor Lin pondered for a moment. Do you want me to leave? No, she said suddenly. You can stay here with me. Just clean up the guest room. Professor Lin looked at her and agreed. He opened the car door and got out. Then, he walked over to Sister Hong's side and opened the car door. Be careful. Chapter 5285. He opened the car door and opened the door for Sister Hong. Be careful, Sister Hong's stomach was a little big. She carefully got out of the car with Professor Lin supporting her. They looked like a loving couple. Master Ching sat in the car and watched them quietly. His eyes were bloodshot. After a long time, he slammed his hand on the steering wheel and the car let out a sharp screech. It was late at night, so it was very abrupt. Professor Lin asked softly, "Why don't I talk to him? It's not good to keep waiting at your door like this." Sister Hong held her stomach and smiled bitterly. "I'll move to another place tomorrow." Professor Lin didn't say anything. Actually, they all knew that moving to another place wouldn't work. Master Ching would still be able to sneak in. Sister Hong really moved to a bungalow. The villa wasn't big, but it was very cozy. She felt that it was very suitable for childbirth. Du Meili and Su Mu came over and looked around. They both praised Sister Hong's good taste. It's mainly about money. Let the professionals do the design. Sister Hong smiled and looked around. It was also very full. When Sister Hong went upstairs, Su Mu looked at Du Meili. "I heard that when Sister Hong fainted, you and Chief Editor Zhang were the ones who sent her to the hospital?" Du Meili nodded. "Yes, I was terrified." Su Mu looked around and said, "This child isn't Professor Lin's, right?" Du Meili was dumbfounded. She pretended not to know and said while drinking water, "It should be Professor Lin's. Otherwise, did Sister Hong find another man outside?" Su Mu's voice was indifferent. "It's Ching Zhang's, isn't it?" As Du Meili drank the water, her big eyes darted left and right, unable to hold herself back. Su Mu was still staring at her. She didn't ask any more. She could roughly guess the answer. Su Mu looked up. "Professor Lin is quite affectionate." Du Meili sighed. "Yeah, he's a good man. He's not like the dead man before me. He said that he wanted to break up with me the moment he heard that I was in trouble. He was blind." Su Mu comforted her for a while. When Sister Hong came down, they would stop talking. Since Sister Hong didn't say anything, Su Mu could only pretend not to know. But later on, she also saw Master Ching. Like a wolf dog, he snuck over to Sister Hong's place and guarded the door. In the courtyard on a winter day, Sister Hong was 5 months pregnant and was basking in the sun on the recliner. Su Mu brought Cymbidium chinense over to play. The little Cymbidium chinense was glowing happily, and the two women were chatting while lying down. Su Mu's gaze landed outside the villa. There was a car parked outside. She coughed softly. "The security here is quite good." Sister Hong raised her eyes slightly. "Really? Are you talking about Qingjing?" Su Mu smiled and then sighed. "Sister Hong, you and him have really missed each other." Sister Hong said sadly, "I'm quite good now." "Really, it's quite good. Planting flowers and raising fish. We'll see when the child is born. Maybe I'll marry Professor Lin, or maybe I'll just raise the child alone." She said rather casually, "It doesn't matter whether I get married or not." Of course, Su Mu wouldn't persuade her. How could she not know Qing Zhang's character? She just didn't expect him to be so affectionate. Sister Hong was already pregnant and he thought that it was Professor Lin's child. He even guarded it all day long. Did he have nothing to do? Sister Hong said fiercely, "I'll just be a watchdog. Love is here, there's no more for tonight. I'll try to update tomorrow. Chapter 5286. Su-mu was speechless. At that time, Sister Hong and Qingjing seemed to have a good relationship. At that time, when Sister Hong mentioned Qingjing, she always looked at him with disdain. However, Su-mu could feel that Sister Hong liked him very much, the kind of person who loved Qingjing as a man. Qingjing had so many flaws that she couldn't even count them all. However, those flaws were very cute. This was probably what Sister Hong liked about him. However, she didn't expect that one day, they would come to this. Sister Hong was pregnant with Qingjing's child, but she said it was someone else's. Su-mu respected Sister Hong's choice. If Sister Hong was unwilling, she wouldn't tell Qingjing about it. She just felt a little regretful. In the past, when Sister Hong and Qingjing were together, they were really happy. When Su-mu left, the car stopped at Master Cheng's place. Master Cheng squatted in front of the car like a wolf. Now, he no longer smoked cigars. Su-mu lowered the car window. It's useless even if you squat here for a year. Sister Hong won't be soft-hearted. This was the truth. Later on, Su-mu found out about their relationship. Qingjing had gone too far. Su-mu smiled. Let's go have a cup of coffee. Master Cheng didn't say anything. He put out the cigarette, opened the door and got into her car. His own car was still at Sister Hong's door, which meant that he was going to come again. Su-mu drove and smiled. Qingjing, why do you have to do this? Master Cheng clenched his fist. I've thought about it. As long as this woman doesn't get married, I'll stay here. Who knows, one day the iron tree will bloom. Su-mu found it funny. After a moment of silence, she said, You don't mind raising someone else's son. I thought you would mind. This really hurt Master Cheng. He felt sad. After a long time, he said, I don't care. As long as she doesn't get married, she's my woman. Su-mu smiled. You did a good job in entering the university. Master Cheng's voice was still gruff. There's nothing wrong with that, right? That man called Lin Kongwen is too much of a scumbag. Lu Hong is pregnant, but he still doesn't want to marry her. If she gives birth to a child, people will gossip about her. If you ask me, this kind of man is especially unreliable. Why don't she marry me? I'll raise her son for free. Su-mu almost laughed out loud. How desperate must Qingjing be to think of such a thing? She quietly drove for a while before asking softly, Actually, you like Sister Hong very much, right? Godfather Cheng's face was a little red. I don't like her. She would stay here for 2 months at a time. I haven't touched a woman for a few months. What do you think I'm after? She's good. She doesn't even give me a good look every day. Even if she's a beggar, she would at least give me a bowl of rice. She's really heartless. As Master Cheng spoke, he felt sad for himself. Su-mu didn't say anything more. The car drove to a cafe. Master Cheng didn't want to get out of the car for a long time. Can't we drink tea? I don't know why you women like to drink such bitter things so much. Isn't it just to show off? Su-mu pursed her lips and said softly, Qingjing, if two people are together, they have to tolerate and accept each other. Master Cheng's eyes widened. Mu-mu, don't put on an act with me. Didn't you say that I didn't accommodate Lu Hong? I was also very good to her at that time. You're giving her money, right? Su-mu said softly, do you think that's enough? She quietly sipped her coffee and said after a long time, "Qingxing, you can only wait. Wait for Sister Hong to forgive you. Perhaps, it's still possible. Don't pester her anymore. It's useless." Master Qing felt very uncomfortable. How is it useless? Su Mu, you bastard. Tell me why it's useless. Su Mu stopped talking. If she said anything more, it would be revealed. In the end, it was Master Qing who paid the bill. Su Mu said that she would give him a ride, but he choked and said that he wanted to be alone. Okay, then think about it carefully. Do you want to give Sister Qing a way out? Su Mu said very softly. Then she left first. Master Qing sat there alone and thought about life. After sitting for a long time, he walked out. Unfortunately, he happened to see Professor Lin drinking coffee with a girl. Professor Lin's expression was very gentle, and the girl was also very beautiful. Master Qing was a little confused. Chapter 5288. Master Qing was stunned when he saw it. What a gigolo. Lu Hong was pregnant with a child and this gigolo was dating a woman. He, Master Qing, was going to beat this pretty boy until he couldn't find his bearings anymore. Therefore, Master Qing didn't say anything. He grabbed Professor Lin's collar and punched him. The woman screamed, "Why are you hitting me?" "All right, Lin, you've grown up. You're cheating on your wife." Master Qing gritted his teeth. "Today, I'll do justice on behalf of the heavens." Professor Lin was a scholar. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't handle Master Chang's beating. After a few punches, his face was swollen. Master Qing was still angry and wanted to hit the woman. The woman had already called the police and called Professor Lin's parents. Now, Master Qing wanted to catch her. It was like an eagle catching a chick. Professor Lin screamed, "That's my cousin." Cousin Lin's face turned pale and she started crying. Master Qing was stunned. He looked down at the girl in his hands and then at Professor Lin. Her face was swollen and he couldn't tell if she looked like her. Master Qing was a rough man. Although his face was red, he didn't lose. "You didn't say it clearly. Besides, I don't know if it's true or not." Cousin Lin cried and shouted, "Are you out of your mind? You hit my cousin every time you catch him. Also, my cousin doesn't have a wife. You're crazy." Master Qing snorted. "Isn't Lu Hong his wife? She's pregnant now." Cousin Lin was stunned. "Cousin, why haven't I heard of this?" Professor Lin was in a mess. Sister Hong was pregnant. He naturally couldn't tell his parents that it was his child. So, his family didn't know about Sister Hong. He wanted to develop their relationship and wait until the child was born. He was also married twice. So, it wasn't a problem for Sister Hong to have a child. But now, there was a problem. It didn't matter if he got beaten up. But it was important that Cousin Lin called the police. Think about it, if his parents came, how would he explain it? Without his explanation, Qingzheng had already picked up the phone with a dark expression. "Lu Hong, I've beaten up your pretty boy. I'm going to the police station later. Also, I want to ask you, why don't the Lin family know about you? Tell me, is the child in your stomach mine? I just wanted to find a ready-made father for the child, so I found this gigolo." Everyone was watching the show. Professor Lin was embarrassed and Cousin Lin was stunned. At this moment, the people from the police station had arrived. The Lin family's parents had also arrived. Master Chang and Professor Lin went to the police station to record their statements. Professor Lin wanted to let it go, but Papa Lin and Mama Lin were unwilling. Even Grandpa Ching was unwilling. He was panicking. The child might be his, and he had beaten the scapegoat's father. At this moment, he wished that he could squat in there for 10 days to half a month. Thinking about Sister Hong's effeminate face that night, Master Ching really felt that the inside was pretty good. All the Lin family's parents scolded him, but he also chuckled foolishly. Only when Sister Hong came over did his eyes turn red, just like a big wolf dog. Of course, Sister Hong ignored him and asked if Professor Lin was okay. Professor Lin sighed. "I'm fine. But you're not fine." Sister Hong's pregnant belly shocked Papa Lin and Mama Lin. They remembered that their son had a girlfriend a while ago. But according to the time, it wasn't possible for her to have such a big belly. Chapter 5289. Memorize. The only possibility was that the child was that rough-looking man's. Moreover, it was the one that beat up his son. Father Lin and Mother Lin's voices trembled. "This child isn't considered our Lin family's, right?" Seeing that they didn't want to admit it, Master Ching felt that his woman had been insulted. He snorted coldly, "Bah, if your Lin family is so capable, can you have a child? That's my seed." The last sentence sounded very confident, but it was actually a little lacking in confidence. Sister Hong only glanced at him. "The child is mine." These words were quite subtle. Although it was a denial, it was also equivalent to denying that it was a gigolo. In that case, other than Master Ching, no one else had the ability to do so. Master Ching did not dare to look at Sister Hong. He whispered, "I will take responsibility." Sister Hong coldly snorted, "Why do I need you to take responsibility for my own child?" Master Ching was a little scared and lowered his head. Sister Hong spoke to Papa Lin and Mama Lin politely. Papa Lin and Mama Lin tried to sound out Sister Hong, afraid that the child would be implanted by their son. Professor Lin was a little embarrassed, and his heart ached for Sister Hong. He had interacted with Sister Hong for a period of time and knew her personality. He let out a long sigh. He knew that he had no chance. Professor Lin's parents felt sorry for their son and hated scum like Master Ching. They tried to persuade her with kind words, "Miss, I see that you are also a person of status. You can't mix around with such a man." Sister Hong smiled. "I won't bail him out." Master Ching also hurriedly said, "No need, no need. I'm fine squatting in there. This place is suitable for scum like me." The members of the Lin family were at a loss for words. Miss Liu looked quite generous and owned a newspaper office. How could her taste be so unique? In the end, Grandpa Ching called Xiaomao over and kindly escorted Professor Lin to the hospital. During this period, Professor Lin had been taking care of his wife and son for him. It was very tiring. Master Ching generously gave out 5 million yuan, which was really scary. Thus, Father Lin and Mother Lin knew that this boorish man was rich. It was true that as long as one was rich, he could get any woman he wanted. They weren't from the same world, so they couldn't be bothered. Father Lin and Mother Lin didn't ask for money and left with their son. When Professor Lin left, he sighed softly. Sister Hong felt a little apologetic. However, given the current situation, she definitely couldn't say that the child was Professor Lin's. No one would believe her even if she did. Moreover, she was not naive enough to think that as long as the two people loved each other, it would be fine. There were too many ways in marriage. When everyone had left, Xiaomao happily said, "Sister-in-law, you and our Master Ching have made up, haven't you?" Sister Hong did not even look at Master Ching. "I have nothing to do with him." Master Ching squatted in the corner. I'll do a good job. Wait for me with the child. The police officer couldn't take it anymore. You're just going to be locked up for 8 to 10 days. How dare you say that? Sister Hong directly left, not bothering with them at all. Master Ching grinded his teeth, and after a while, he grinned and said, "Xiao Mao, send your sister-in-law off. When I come out, I'll give you a reward." Xiao Mao was very happy and immediately followed. Master Ching rubbed his head and squatted down in relief. Wasn't it just 8 to 10 days? After this period of time, Sister Hong's temper would also subside. It was just right for him to move into her villa. Thinking about how he had a wife and a child, Master Cheng's heart was especially happy. However, it was really wishful thinking. Sister Hong didn't even bother with him. Master Ching came out from inside. He was full of vigor, especially in that area. He even listened to Xiao Mao's suggestion and bought a bouquet of flowers before going to Sister Hong's place. Chapter 5290. Sister Hong stood in the yard, looking at the man who had climbed over the wall. Master Ching had taken a shower and changed his clothes. Oh, what a spirited young man. He had brought flowers and supplements to visit his wife and child. He even brought a huge diamond ring. But there was nothing. Where was he? Master Ching threw the flowers aside and patted Xiao Mao's head. Where is he? I asked you to look after him. Where did he go? Xiao Mao rubbed his head. He was here last night. Master Ching thought for a moment. Oh, he must have gone back to his old home. I also said that it's inconvenient to live upstairs and downstairs in this villa. It's better to live on the big floor. Master Ching went over. Sister Hong had indeed moved back. But she wasn't at home. She had gone to the news agency. Master Ching was shy and didn't want to look for her, so he sat in the car and waited. It wasn't until 8 p.m. that the chauffeur sent Sister Hong back. She didn't usually go to the news agency, but she had to go today because of the bonus. Sister Hong looked at Master Ching and smiled. You're out. Master Ching said respectfully, Madam, I'm back. Sister Hong held her stomach and smiled. Who's your wife? She walked towards the elevator with Master Ching following behind her like a wolf dog. Sister Hong paused. Don't follow me, it's useless. Master Ching smiled cheekily and followed her shamelessly. In the elevator, Sister Hong held a bag in her hands and looked up at the red numbers on the screen. Then, she said softly, unless you want the child to miscarry, you really shouldn't follow me. Miscarry? Master Cheng was stunned. He stammered, it's not that serious. I'm this kid's father. He'll only be happy to see me. How could he miscarry? Besides, other than your stomach, where else can he go? I'm willing to take him in, but where do you think I should put him? Master Cheng laughed mischievously. After saying that, he rubbed his head and laughed. Sister Hong looked at him as though she was looking at an idiot. After a long time, Sister Hong said softly, Ching Zheng, you still don't understand. It doesn't matter whose child it is. How is it not important? It's especially important to me. Master Cheng's voice was a little hoarse. Woman, why do you keep saying things to make me angry? You're already angry. She smiled faintly. Just as Master Ching was about to say something, the elevator door opened. Sister Hong swiped her card and went home. He also wanted to go in, but Sister Hong blocked the door. Ching Zheng, we're done. Master Ching was indignant as he growled, You're pregnant with my child, so you're my woman. And the child is mine too. Without me, how could you have a child? Sister Hong didn't want to talk to him. She lowered her eyes, her expression indifferent. Master Ching also felt a little uncomfortable. His voice was hoarse. "Can't you give me another chance? You were the one who didn't want it." Sister Hong remained calm. "Ching Zheng, do you think that you're the only one who doesn't have a temper?" Depressed, he did not speak. After a long time, Sister Hong said in a low voice, "Don't follow me. I won't be with you anymore." Master Ching was completely dumbfounded. In his rounding calculation, knowing that his son was his meant that the two of them had reconciled and raised this child together. It was a beautiful and harmonious life. In the future, he would never look for other girls and treat her well. Actually, after they parted, it would be the same. Instead of facing so many women every day, he might as well face her alone. Chapter 5291. Actually, after separating from her, it would be the same. Facing so many women every day, it would be better to face her alone. Master Ching touched his head. "Are you serious?" Sister Hong pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Master Ching still wanted to squeeze into the apartment, but Sister Hong slammed the door hard. Perhaps because she was too emotional, her lower abdomen actually hurt. She held her stomach and frowned. Her forehead was covered in sweat. She bit her lip and used all her strength to open the door. Seeing the door open, Master Ching was happy at first. "I knew you couldn't bear to leave me." But as soon as he finished speaking, he was a little confused. What was going on? Master Ching was completely confused. He held her and asked, "Is the baby going to be born?" Sister Hong wanted to kill him. She was only a few months pregnant, how could she give birth? "Send me to the hospital, or else the baby will probably be miscarried." Sister Hong gritted her teeth and said, feeling the pain in her stomach. She was a little scared and Master Ching was even more helpless. But thinking that this child was related to the happiness of the rest of his life, he carried Sister Hong downstairs without thinking. Fortunately, as a rough man, he still knew how to be tender and protective of the fairer sex, so he carried her smoothly. His car was big enough, so he carefully placed her down. "Hold on tight, don't fall." After that, he quickly got into the car and drove to the nearest hospital quickly and steadily. Indeed, the baby was affected. If it had come a little later, the baby would have been gone. Master Ching heard the doctor's words and was stunned for a long time. Miscarriage, it must be very painful. Master Ching was stunned for a long time before he said softly, "The baby is gone. I'll blow up your hospital." The doctor saw him acting like a gangster and was so scared that he immediately went to the operating room. Fortunately, the baby was saved, but he had to stay in the hospital for a few days. He had to be extra careful not to agitate the pregnant woman again. How would Master Ching dare to do that? He went to stay in the ward and asked Xiao Mao to find the best nutritionist to nourish his son and his woman. Xiao Mao was also quite speechless. What was Master Ching doing? Sister Hong was still unconscious, so how could she nourish her? Besides, in his opinion, Sister Hong might not be able to let Master Ching get close to her. This time, Sister Hong almost lost her child. She probably hated him to death. But little Mao still did as he was told. Master Ching stayed by Sister Hong's side, feeling a sense of regaining what he had lost. He sat there quietly. Just looking at her made him feel satisfied. This was his woman. Pregnant with his child. Weren't they going to get married? Not. She could marry him however she wanted and as many times as she wanted. Master Ching couldn't wait for her to wake up. He walked back and forth in the ward. He couldn't wait to get it done immediately. A long night is fraught with dreams. He waited for her to wake, but she did not sleep till morning. Master Ching grabbed the doctor and asked him what was going on. The doctor looked at him as if he was an idiot. Isn't it normal to sleep at night? Grandpa Ching scratched his head. I think so. It wasn't until 9 in the morning that Sister Hong woke up. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Master Ching, who was clean-shaven and full of vigor, watching over her, except for some red lines under his eyes. She looked at him quietly. Master Ching was especially masculine. You're awake. Let's eat something. It's all the recipes suggested by the top nutritionist. They said that it's nutritious and won't make you fat. You're only thin, so it's not bad to hug you. He said this shamelessly, but Sister Hong listened quietly without any expression on her face. Chapter 5292. Memorize seeing him. Sister Hong was really angry. He turned his face to the other side and said in a cold voice, "Get lost." When Master Ching saw this situation, he immediately rolled to the other side of her face. He didn't dare to provoke her, so he kept slapping himself in the face. It's my fault, I'm sorry to you. Fine, you can do whatever you want to me, as long as you don't make yourself and the child suffer. Sister Hong quietly looked at him, her eyes a little red. Master Ching also felt that he was not a good person. His eyes were bloodshot and his voice was a little rough. If you don't want to see me, I'll leave. I only ask that you protect the child. He continued, this child belongs to both of us. Perhaps we won't have another one in the future. As he said that, he felt a little sad as he wiped his eyes. I don't like children, but I like the ones you gave birth to. Sister Hong was both angry and amused. She really didn't know what to do with him. She pursed her lips and said softly, Ching Jing, if you also want to keep this child, then don't disturb me, okay? I'm afraid I really can't take it. Therefore, Master Ching agreed that she could do whatever she wanted. But how could he really leave? His wife and child were here, and he was worried. There was no place for him to squat in the ward. Master Ching spent some money to have the hospital prepare a single bed for him in the corridor. He squatted at the door during the day and slept there at night, afraid that something would happen to Sister Hong. The nurses in the hospital were terrified by his behavior, but this god of wealth threw a 5 million yuan card at the director's office, and the director accepted it with a smile, treating him like a god of wealth. Every day, the doctors and nurses looked at Master Ching as if they were looking at a new human being. Master Ching was a scumbag, and everyone in B City knew that. His cowardly look was both funny and infuriating. When Su Mu and Du Meili came over to see Sister Hong, they saw Master Ching squatting at the door. He couldn't wait for Sister Hong to open the door and see his infatuated look. Su Mu was amused. She coughed softly. Ching Jing, do you eat, drink, and poop all over here? Master Ching felt very wronged. Yeah, there's a woman who won't let me in. Su Mu smiled. It's your turn. Master Chang's eyes were burning. He rubbed his rough hands and said, Mu, why don't you put in a few good words for me? Isn't Lu Hong the woman who listens to you the most? I'll thank you properly if you do this. I can't afford it. Su Mu sneered. You've done it yourself. Master Ching touched his head. I can't do it now, can I? Su Mu sneered, that's your own fault. Anyway, I only have one thing to say, don't provoke Sister Hong. How would I dare? I'm serving her like an empress dowager, but she doesn't appreciate it. Mr. Ching sounded wronged. Du Meili felt disgusted when she heard this. When you're looking for a girl, why don't you think about whether Sister Hong appreciates it or not? She actually has to thank you. Sumu looked at Du Meili and felt that she was a good talker. Du Meili had to muster up her courage to say this. Master Cheng's temper was ferocious, so she didn't dare to offend him easily. But now that Master Cheng had a son, he was like an obedient cat. She couldn't help but bully him. Master Cheng wanted to explode, but then he thought of the person lying in the ward and sighed. You guys go in. I can't go in anyway. As he said this, he squatted pitifully in a corner like a stray dog. Chapter 5293. Sumu looked at him and felt that he was like Qingzheng from back then. He squatted there without food and looked at others with eager eyes, hoping that they would give him food. She sighed in her heart. Qingzheng wasn't a bad person and he liked Sister Hong too. However, he was used to being alone since he was young and did whatever he wanted. He didn't know how to love anyone. Now, he wanted to love her, but he had made an unforgivable mistake. Sumu felt that Qingzheng was a little pitiful. However, he was even more hateful. Of course, she wouldn't speak up for him. Sister Hong was a mature woman. Moreover, when Sister Hong was suffering in love, she was the one who endured it silently. She didn't have the right to speak up for Qingzheng. After entering, they closed the door. Master Cheng's gaze turned from fervent to disappointed as he squatted in the corner again. In the ward, Sister Hong looked at Guanxi and Du Meili and smiled. I've let you guys watch a joke. Du Meili said fiercely, don't forgive him. Sister Hong, now that you have money, a figure, and a beautiful face, it's only a matter of time before you find a man with good taste. Don't ever think about getting involved with this uncouth man again. Qingzheng is like a piece of sticky candy. Once you stick to him, you can't get rid of him. Sister Hong drank the soup and smiled. You're quite emotional. Du Meili sighed. I'm doing it for your own good. Look at your current condition. I'm so jealous of you. Why bother with him? It's fine as long as you have money. You can't even spend it. Also, when you talk about life and ideals with him, he'll turn around and look for girls to piss you off. Sister Hong didn't say anything else and just drank the soup in silence. Sumu gave Du Meili a look and Du Meili said softly, I'm sorry, Sister Hong. I accidentally said it. Don't take it to heart. Sister Hong smiled. No, how could I? Oh right, how's the club? Du Meili explained the situation and Sister Hong nodded. I'll have to trouble you and Zhang Fucai to be more careful. We'll work harder and try to get listed next year. Du Meili's eyes widened. Really? Sister Hong smiled. Why would I lie to you? It's true. Do it well, and when the time comes, I'll give you some shares. You'll have everything, and men won't be that important anymore. Du Meili immediately revealed a look of yearning. Sister Hong was right. She was very excited for a moment, but Sumu could tell that Sister Hong was deliberately changing the topic. Sister Hong probably didn't want to talk about Qingzheng. However, Du Meili was a fool. She couldn't think of it at all. Sumu did not make a sound and quietly accompanied Sister Hong. Now that she had married into the Yi family, there were some things that Sister Hong relied on her for, so she would more or less discuss things with her. Du Meili tidied up the place and went to buy some fresh flowers to make Sister Hong feel better. After that, she looked at the ward with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. She looked at what Sister Hong was wearing and the child in her belly. She felt that it was all worth it. A woman's life was worth it. It really didn't matter if she had a man or not. After Sumu and Sister Hong finished their discussion, she accompanied them for a long time before leaving. Dumeli also had work to do, so she left with them. When only the nurse was left in the ward, Sister Hong finally calmed down and could properly think about the matter with Qingzheng. She knew that Qingzheng had been living in the corridor all this time. This was probably the most difficult time he had been in recent years. If one were to say that she was moved, she wasn't moved at all. How could a woman who had been hurt be moved? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.